Hello, this is Dr. Loach from HumanBodyHelp.com, and today what I want to do is talk about the Cornell method of note-taking. One of the things that I have found with working with students over the years is that students don't practice recall. One of the things that they do when they study is simply read through the notes and read through the notes over and over and over again, but they don't practice recall. They don't practice trying to recall that information from their memory. The first time they actually do recall is on the exam, and that's not a good time to do recall for the first time. So one of the things I like to teach my students to do is set up their notebook in a way that will facilitate them studying by practicing recall. Probably the most efficient way to set up your notebook is by using the Cornell method of note-taking. When you're using the Cornell method of note-taking, your notebook should be set up like this. So here is a notebook page, and what you would want to do is draw two lines on the page. One line down the side like this, and then one line across the bottom like this. Now in this section, you would want to take your notes. This is what you focus on during class time. While you're in class, all your job is to do is take notes. So you'd fill this section with notes. And then, as soon as you can after class, ideally you would want to do it right after class, but if you've got other classes or other responsibilities, you would want to do it before you go to bed. But as soon as you can after class, what you want to do is read through your notes, review your notes. This act alone will increase your retention by 70% versus just saving your notes and then reading them for the first time a couple days before the exam. Okay? So read through your notes after class, and as you're doing that, what you want to do is think up possible test questions. Anticipate the test questions that your teacher is going to ask you. And those test questions that you anticipate go over here. And my recommendation would be to make a test question for each and every line of notes in your notebook. Okay? That way you're studying, that way you're practicing recalling all of the information in your notes, not just a little bit of information. Okay? So as you're reading through your notes after class, make up your test questions and fill this area with test questions, every line of notes. Okay? And then what you're going to want to do after you make these test questions, you're going to want to quiz yourself. You're going to want to practice that recall part. So read the test question and think of the answer without looking at the answer. Use a piece of paper to cover up your notes. This is where the answers would be. Practice recalling the information, and if you can't recall the information, then go ahead and look at your notes, and you'll probably need to do this the first couple of times through. But eventually what's going to happen is you're going to be able to answer these test questions without looking at your notes. And if you can answer all of these test questions without looking at any of your notes, you're ready to take an exam on this material. Okay? Now this little section down here, 1 to 2 line summary. Okay? 1 to 2 line summary goes right here. And so if you want to read through all your notes right before the exam, all you have to do is read these 1 to 2 line summaries at the bottom of each page. And these summaries are going to summarize the information in here. So it would actually be easy, quick, to read through your notes right before the exams if you make up these summaries at the bottom. Okay? Now, this is the Cornell method. Cornell method of note-taking. This is one way to do it. This is probably the most efficient way I've ever seen to set up your notes. Okay? And the reason for that is you don't have to rewrite your notes. All you have to do is write test questions after you've written your notes in class. Okay? Now the way I used to do my studying, the way I used to set up my study sheets, required that I rewrite my notes. Okay? So I wish I'd known about this Cornell method when I was in school. Okay? But what I used to do is this. I used to take my piece of paper, right, and then I'd fold it in half. Right? And on one side, I would write the test questions, the possible test questions that I anticipated my teachers would ask. Okay? And on this side of the paper, I'd write out the answers for these test questions. Okay? And then I'd fold the paper in half and quiz myself. Look at the test question, see if I can recall the information, recall the answer. If I couldn't, then I'd look. And that's what I did the first couple of times. But eventually, the more I went through this, the easier it would be to recall the information without looking at the answers. Okay? That's the step that you want to take your studying to. Okay? Practice the recall. If you found this video helpful, click like and consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to visit www.humanbodyhelp.com.